I want to tell you about the worst reading experience I have ever had in my life. When I was a relatively new father, I went to my neighborhood Barnes & Noble and bought a bunch of children's books without doing much research. I picked the ones I'd heard of through the years but hadn't actually read, and one of those books was The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Here is the actual story of The Giving Tree. A boy grows up happily frolicking with his favorite tree, climbing her and swinging from her branches. They play hide and seek. He loves her, she loves him. The boy carves his initials in her. But then the boy grows up and stops coming by very often, and the tree is lonely. And when he finally returns, he won't play with the tree. Instead, he asks the tree for money, so the tree gives him her apples for him to sell, and the boy takes them and leaves the tree alone again for a long time. And finally he returns, fully grown, and again refuses to play with the tree. And now he wants a house for his wife and his kids, so the tree gives up her branches and is abandoned again, branchless, until years later, when this awful selfish person, now a much older man, returns and says he wants a boat. So the tree lets him chop off her trunk to make the boat, and then all that's left of the giving tree is a lonely, solitary stump. And at the very end, the man returns, old and toothless and listless, and he sits on the stump because that's all he can do at his age. And then the tree is happy. Well, the tree may have been happy, but by the time I was done reading this story out loud, I was not happy at all. In fact, I was struggling to hold back tears, and the only reason I didn't start bawling was because I didn't want to upset my 4-year-old, who was probably not experiencing the book as I was. For me, it was a soul-crushing commentary on mortality, loss, senescence, emotional deprivation, environmental degradation, the callousness of youth, the indignity of being a parent, and in general, the futility of life. I quickly closed the book, and after my kid was asleep, I hid The Giving Tree on the top shelf of a closet I never used, certain that I would never read it again. And I haven't until preparing for this video, and the book depressed me all over again. Since then, I've done some research on The Giving Tree because I'm genuinely amazed that such a bleak and gloomy story could become so popular. It turns out that quite a lot has been written about the book. Both the New York Times Book Review and the New Yorker have published articles about what a polarizing book The Giving Tree is. It frequently shows up on lists of both the best and the worst children's books of all time. Even book publishers are divided on it. According to the New York Times, Simon & Schuster rejected the book. The editor said it was too sad for children and too simple for adults. Other interpretations of the book are more positive. Among Christian educators, the book is taught as a parable for how to live a generous and selfless life. There are others who see it as a story of how people must treat nature with greater respect. The author of The Giving Tree, Shel Silverstein, didn't say much about his intentions except this: it's just a relationship between two people. One gives and the other takes. Another time he said, it's about a boy in a tree. It has a pretty sad ending. Thanks a lot, Shel. According to the New Yorker, he didn't think kids should grow up with the assumption that life would be a happy experience. Mission accomplished. Now, I know that sometimes when a book produces a reaction as strongly negative as the one I'm having, the first instinct is to think, well, there must be something to it, otherwise it wouldn't be provoking such strong emotions. No, that is not the case here. I read The Giving Tree out loud 12 years ago, and I still haven't gotten over it. Generally, publishers do not attack books by their competitors, no matter how much personal trauma the book may have caused. So I want to make it clear that when I describe The Giving Tree as the worst reading experience of my life, I do not mean to disparage the company that published it. And to prove my point, I will note that this same competitor published one of the happiest reading experiences of my life, Harold and the Purple Crayon, a magical story about imagination and creativity and possibility. So if you're ever browsing in your bookstore with no idea of what to buy your kid, I urge you to buy Harold and the Purple Crayon. As for The Giving Tree, I think it should come with a warning label that says, do not read this book out loud to anyone capable of understanding it. And that is the word according to Carp.